over the weekend, I would say the biggest story was the announcement of Ring of Honor's television situation, and it's not going to be a television situation by definition. And Tony Khan noting that their television series will be launching sometime in the new year. They did not give any start date, but it will be on the revamped Honor Club that they have was part of the purchase earlier this year. So I know you and Kate had a chance to speak about this over the weekend, but just seeing some of the reaction to it, Way, and the idea of another hour of television, but also one in which you are asking your fan base to spend money in order to follow this product with a $9.99 price tag. I mean, certainly this is not the optimal outcome that anyone wanted for Ring of Honor from Tony Khan's perspective. Where does this Honor Club situation sort of position Ring of Honor as a brand in the new year?
Mm-hmm. Just kind of maybe speaking about the fallout after the announcement, I think most of the wrestling audience has been able to decipher this as being a bit of a fail for Tony Khan and for ROH as a whole. Through, I think, expectations and maybe even veiled promises of something bigger than this. Tony holding out for as long as he did before announcing anything, and then ultimately ending up with something that he probably could have done from the get-go has to be seen as a disappointment for the company. I think one of the major sticking points I've seen is, you are talking about a product right now in AEW as a whole that is not nearly as hot as it was a year ago. Their second run programming in Rampage has been going through, I think, a lot of bad press, coming off of one of its worst ratings ever. And when you're talking about the B show already doing as bad as it is, what position are you in to get your audience to spend money on a weekly subscription service? Another aspect of it that I've seen a lot of criticism for is the price point. $9.99 is, the barometer at which we used to set, I think, most streaming services. That includes, it was really set by Netflix, but then WWE followed suit. New Japan, of course, followed suit. And $9.99 these days, even though like Netflix is more than that, you're getting way more though, with almost every, like, you were getting the value that we assign to $9.99, has already been established as something that is worth a lot. WWE Network offered, a number of pay-per-views for that price. They offer less now, or sorry, they offer the same amount for less now as part of Peacock's, lower tier. So it's relatively high, I have to say, for a weekly TV show that does not include the Ring of Honor pay-per-views, which, you would have to pay additional fees for. Personally, if I was Tony Khan, I would have kind of went like the Disney Plus route of like starting off with a lower cost, and if it takes off, then maybe considering upping the price a year or two from now.
Should have got Ring of Honor on Disney Plus.
I mean, I don't know if they were. I don't. I mean, here's the thing, John. Like who is looking? What of the major streamers, would actually be interested? Does this tell you that they didn't have many options, or
I don't look at this as like I don't even put WWE, like, it plays no barometer on like the interest out there when it comes to a WWE. I would even say so to a degree, like AEW, but it certainly does tell you that, here is the guy in Tony Khan that has launched this brand that is doing tremendous numbers on Wednesday. And we have two comparisons that are kind of similar here in that with Warner Brothers Discovery, we know all of the problems they're having, but they are kind of going out on a limb with a similar person who has had a ton of success in Dana White for his offshoot idea in Power Slap. And that's getting a prime slot on TBS in the new year. And what's funny is that Power Slap, the success of that show, they are very much hedging it off of the back of AEW to send that audience over. But when it comes to AEW's offshoot promotion, that is something that they're not interested at the moment in. And we even saw that interview from a while ago from WBD stating they're looking for more out of the ring content when it comes to professional wrestling. So it would seem like this is not the kind of wrestling content they're seeking more of, whether that's, you know, the realities of seeing like Rampage. If Rampage was knocking them dead, maybe they would be craving more content, but that's sort of where it settles. I think it's,
I have to imagine there's probably still a bit of a perception of what wrestling kind of, you know, means for advertising, maybe just kind of for the reputation of your company. Like, I'm guessing 3 hours of wrestling content is probably good, but like 5, 6 on the same network.
What night would you even find it? Like, you know that AEW is not going to run on nights where the NFL is running, and you know TNT and TBS, they do have their existing deals with the NBA, with Major League Baseball, and you know there's only so many places like you are even going to find for wrestling. Now you could argue that Ring of Honor follows Dynamite, and then you have a 3-hour block like that. That could have been an option on the table, but they are going with Power Slap, which.
But why not just extend Dynamite to 3 hours?
Well, that would be my argument if I was WBD, is why are we going to take this lesser brand when we want more of this? Like, you are going to see the exact pattern of like a Raw, where that 3rd hour is going to go down dramatically when it comes to Ring of Honor. And if you are WBD, you're looking at, well, AEW is the brand we want, as Tony's trying to get this other one off the ground. Now, what is interesting is when this Power Slap is a limited series, and if Power Slap is a big hit, and those, however long this is, 10, 11 weeks are up, I mean, what do they want to put in that slot that can retain some of that audience? That's something interesting too. Like, as much as Power Slap,
it won't be Ring of Honor.
Well, it's probably not going to be Ring of Honor, but that is interesting to see if Power Slap ends up being this big hit for whatever reason.
Probably more Power Slap, John.
I mean, maybe they. Well, it's I don't know how much Power Slap you can put together on short notice, but I mean, I do feel that first week will have some curiosity attached to it. I don't know if it will sustain or not. But getting back to the Honor Club. You know, itself, just launching a niche streaming service, I don't know. It just feels like the world has really passed that time by. Like, that was years ago. You were starting these kind of niche services. And to me, it's $9.99 for a show each week. None of the pay-per-views. We know the history of like what these libraries mean. I mean, they're a nice thing to have, but they are not informing your decision about subscribing to a service. To me, it's, you need to be promising people the world. Like, yeah, you're going to get a weekly ROH show. You're going to get a live stream of Bola. We're going to work out a deal with PWG. Like, you need to be really sweetening the pot, because I just feel that there's not going to be a giant appetite beyond maybe the initial phase of checking out Ring of Honor for that first month. To keep people spending that amount and then asking them to buy a pay-per-view every couple of months on top of it. Like, the New Japan involvement will be interesting, but like, I don't know if that's necessarily going to increase people's desire to add another streaming service. Like, it's like, we are always talking about just the difficulty of people finding more time for wrestling. And now you're asking people to pay for another hour of wrestling each week. So they will have their work cut out for them to get this brand eyes on it and to get people to buy this service. I think they need a big hook for this. And I don't think just a 1 hour weekly show is going to be it for most.
We'll see what sort of creative matchmaking I think Tony will use for this audience, you know, and I kind of discussed this on Saturday, but because it's a paid audience, you are really filtering the most hardcore of the hardcore. And for that reason, I think you can offer like booking that is more catered to that audience. You know, this might be an audience that recognizes the value of a Regina the Wave championship. You know, the type of audience that, you know, you can bring in a Tai Chi perhaps, and certainly like a Tomohiro Ishii and pair him with the Claudio Castagnoli, and that might be attractive enough. We also have to ask questions of like, ultimately, you know, Obviously, I think it's probably safe to say that this is not Tony Khan's first choice. Now, does
Clearly.
this have does this have to be on broadcast in order for Ring of Honor to be a profitable service for him? You know, he has kind of talked about how the profits, or sorry, the gross revenue coming from these pay-per-views are in line with what he's paid for Ring of Honor, whatever in line means. You know, is he already in the black with ROH? I mean, obviously he's spending a whole lot more to try to, you know, keep this version of ROH alive. But is there a number of subscribers that makes this a sustainable business that doesn't necessarily have to include everybody who watches AEW?
Well, I think in the immediate, it's keeping your costs as low as possible. And that to me would mean, like, if I was looking at this, like, what would be the most advantageous, like, production schedule? I'd be getting rid of Dark Elevation. I would do Dark at Universal Studios, and I tape Ring of Honor along with Dynamite every Wednesday. But even with that, like, you're looking at 4 hours when you're tacking on Rampage. Like, that's still a lot. But yeah, that would be I just don't see how you create a whole nother day of production. And do you want to put this in a Universal Studios where it's going to have that feel? But you also don't want this to come off like Velocity either, where it's, you know, good wrestling, but it's like the audience is kind of trained that this isn't the show we're here for. This is like the warm-up acts that happen before the show.
Yeah, and I don't think that's the case. I mean, we see what the roster that they're going to be starting off with is. It's going to consist of Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, Samoa Joe, the Briscoes, who, you know, coming out of Saturday are as hot as I feel like they've ever been in years, maybe ever, you know, with no TV appearances. So they almost like feel like they're a special attraction that you can only see on this service. So we'll see how they kind of use it. Like, they've got an incredible Athena, you know, they've got an incredible roster to start off with. Is it enough for people to, you know, spend $10 a month on?
And how much integration of ROH is on AEW programming to push this and promote this on, like, your biggest platform as well? So there's a lot of questions with it. And, you know, that is kind of like the bare bones was given out over the weekend of their streaming strategy that I'm sure is designed, that I'm sure Tony Khan is going to still hope to pursue a broadcast deal. Like, I think that is the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't feel this is his finality when it comes to their distribution plans for Ring of Honor, but it's the reality that they have to contend with.